Kids growing up are still learning who they are and who they want to be. Some define themselves through experiences. Some children learn who they are through relating to books and movies. However, it is hard to find a good character that is relatable. One series that I have read and has made me more open-minded to differences has all kinds of representation. From children with ADHD and dyslexia to children who are part of the LGBTQ community. Children who live in abusive households and kids who live with a single parent. The author wrote five series, and each acknowledges some issue and represents a community. He makes an interesting story by adding in mythology and magic. The author's first series is about a boy with dyslexia and ADHD who lives with an abusive stepfather. He learns later that his biological father is the Greek god Poseidon, and that there is a camp full of demigods with similar issues like himself. The author of this series is Rick Riordan. I will acknowledge why he created Percy Jackson and Olympians, why he continued to write characters that are different from the typical hero, and his impact on some of his readers. Before writing Percy Jackson and Olympians, Rick Riordan was a teacher and taught Greek myths to middle schoolers. One night, his son asked him for a bedtime story, and so Rick made up a story. He created his own hero, gave him a new quest, and after telling the story, Haley told me I should write it out as a book. Mr. Riordan decided to write the book, and it was published. He continued the story and made a 5-book series. When writing the story, the main character, Percy Jackson, was written to have ADHD and dyslexia. He wrote this Percy Jackson to be like that because he was honoring the potential of all the kids he ever knew who had those conditions. He knows that being different just means to be very talented and special. He understood how children with ADHD and dyslexia acted and worked because his son was being tested for learning differences around the time he was writing the book. He knew that it was difficult for children with learning disabilities in school because they thought differently. And he learned more about ADHD and dyslexia through research. Not only did Rick Riordan make some characters have dyslexia and ADHD, but he also created characters from different ethnic backgrounds, other learning disabilities, and different sexualities in each series. Rick Riordan created a character that was gay, Nico D'Angelo, son of Hades. There was some backlash, but some of them came back. Nico was the way that they found to communicate with each other, and for me to learn a bit more and to become more accepting. Alex Fierro is a gender-fluid child of Loki from the trilogy called Magnus Chasing the Gods of Asgard. Rick created Alex after remembering children he had taught who were not comfortable with their assigned gender, for whom he wished he had done more for the time. He gained a Stonewall Award for the Hammer of Thor for exceptional merit in the depiction of LGBTQ community. In his series, The Heroes of Olympus, he created all kinds of ethnic heroes. There was a 13-year-old black female named Havel Levesque, a Chinese-Canadian male named Frank Tsang, a part Cherokee female named Piper McLean. These books have taught me that people of different experiences and perspectives can work together and achieve anything. In this case, they came together and saved the world, even though 4 of them were Greeks and 3 of them were Romans. They were able to put aside their major differences and work together. In the Kane Chronicles, a black man married a white woman and they had kids. Carter looked like his dad and Sadie looked like her mother. They looked nothing alike, but they were siblings. A lot of people are against interracial marriage, and the series taught me not to be judgmental, and that love is love. His books has taught me and inspired many readers to be different, and that it was okay. Rick Riordan had some of his readers say, "This is the first time that I saw a character like me, and I felt so validated. It helped me through a really tough time." Having a book where you feel validated is powerful, especially if you can relate to a character where you can survive something like the situation you find yourself in. The reader could say, if they can do it, I can do it. Once they relate to the character, that character will always be there in times of trouble or distress. Like, if they can save the world and keep up their grades, I can pass this test. In a personal interview, one reader said that Rick Riordan and his books were the ones that literally got her into reading. It wasn't like reading school books, which felt like a chore. She learned that the books can be read for fun, and now she loves to read. In another personal interview, the reader said that Hazel was the first Black African-American female hero that she read about. Rick Riordan was one of her favorite authors, so seeing not just a girl like her in a story by such a big author really showed her that she could be a hero and that she could be strong as a Black woman. Rick Riordan is the author that made children feel empowered about who they were and not be ashamed for being different. Today, I have acknowledged why Rick Riordan created Percy Jackson in the Olympian series, why he continued to create characters that were not the typical hero in his other books, and how those books impacted his readers. These books helped me fall in love with reading and made me more open-minded. I think the books will help many others in their life, and with a TV show coming out on Disney+, the show will touch and help many more children.